All at once, everything crashed. The filtered travel photos, the matching holiday pajamas, the couple's build-an-empire smiles, all started to rot when Jovi's darkest secret escaped the group chat and hit public feeds. Fans barely had time to blink before the story was everywhere. Money vanished. Trust vaporized. Screenshots, receipts, and whispers started to connect, then exploded as real news. Yara's family savings, years in the making, were gone. Not to sudden illness or a storm, but siphoned quietly by the one man everyone thought she could trust, her husband, the adventurous, party boy turned family man, Jovi. There wasn't even time to process hurt before rage settled in for tea. Was anyone watching closely enough to see this coming? Or maybe we just liked the fantasy too much. A Ukrainian influencer and her Louisiana wild card, beating the long odds on TV and Instagram, making every fight and every reunion worth it, holding the marriage together despite chaos. Maybe we all needed to believe the riskier the love story, the bigger the payoff, so we ignored when energy shifted, when eyes darted, when grins never seemed to reach all the way up the face anymore. How many fans started out rolling their eyes at Jovi's late nights, but still wanted him to change? Who actually looked twice at the expensive business trips or the oddly defensive phone habits, thinking it was just stress or hustle or whatever excuse people want to believe when watching their favorites on screen? That's where this story planted its roots. Not in sudden betrayals or wild plot twists, but in slow cracks you see only when you go back and remember I'm working late. In every scene where Yara is talking to the camera, making jokes about Jovi's excuses, you notice the way her laugh floats high, but her eyes seem trained on something only she can see, a future that's already slipping away. When the scandal blew up, nobody knew what mattered more: Yara's shock, Jovi's cold attempts to justify every missing dollar, or the desperate scramble by fans to connect the dots. People started asking real questions. Did he really believe she would never look into the accounts? Was he arrogant, desperate, or something darker? Did anyone warn her off? Or does influencer love always give people too much rope to hang themselves? And that's where it got even messier. Because this wasn't just about two people fighting in their kitchen. Their entire relationship had become a money-making machine, stamped by TLC, branded on Instagram, and exported all over the world as proof that, if you work hard enough, even the wildest opposites can settle down and build an American dream. Turned out, that dream was mortgaged in secret. The silence that followed was worse than yelling. Yara had always played confidant for her fans, even during her messiest fights, but now she vanished offline. Deleted posts. Switched comments off. While Jovi took some victory laps in the club or acted like nothing happened, Yara's absence started speaking louder, stoking rumor engines everywhere. Were they splitting for clout, for a new season, or for good? Every YouTube channel and fan thread spun its own theory, and each week brought new grainy footage, new heartbreak, new questions. Still, she refused to say a word. And people started to wonder, was she broken or loading up for something nuclear? Nobody expected her silence to break the way it did. Most fans thought she'd crawl back, patch it up, or maybe give a single dramatic interview. Instead, she snapped the story wide open and dragged every skeleton into the sunlight. And still nobody was ready for what she was about to expose next. Once upon a time, these two had fans eating out of the palm of their hand. Jovi was the party guy with a smile too quick to trust, and a travel schedule only oil money could buy. Yara was the fashion lover with a take-no-prisoners vibe, newly in love on foreign soil. They met on a travel app, spilled every fight and makeup session for thousands to watch, and by the time season 8 rolled around, half the internet had opinions about who deserved better. Their love story played out despite culture shock, language stumbles, and a steady stream of strip club detours. Somehow, they still managed to make a baby, buy a condo, and survive hurricanes with sarcasm and iced coffee. When Mila was born, people doubted they'd last another season. They doubled down. New city, new brands, new fights. And then, quiet, just enough happy family content to make you believe that this messy, half-chaotic marriage might just make it through. But let's not pretend it was smooth sailing from the jump. Even in the best moments, Tension was breathing down their necks. Jovi's work trips always came with a little too much haze. Yara's eyes flickered every time he promised things would get easier, as if she might already know better. She tried to bring home a bit of home, Ukrainian food, long video calls to her mother, and now and then, those days almost looked normal. But no amount of matching pajamas or holiday reels could mask the undercurrent of doubt. Even when they both laughed, you could sense the fatigue from never knowing what version of their life would explode on social media next. Then routines morphed into riddles. Jovi's flight schedule stopped making sense. He started protecting his phone like it was a state secret, which only turned up the volume on Yara's suspicions. To outsiders, it looked like a man hustling for his family. Inside their little Miami apartment, the air got heavier every night. You know that feeling when someone you love starts ducking away for phone calls, locked behind doors late at night, and it's just business gets a little less convincing? The pit in your stomach turns active, and suddenly everything feels like a clue. Everyone wants to believe love can survive secrets. Real life? The smallest cracks open wide when there's money, fame, and ego twisting every argument. Fights about who left the lights on or ordered the wrong food turn into fights about why money is missing, or who's sending late-night texts with too many heart emojis. Trust in those moments never breaks with a bang. It goes one tiny lie at a time. Ask yourself, how many couples post a perfect selfie 10 minutes after slamming the bedroom door on each other? Watching Yara and Jovi try to patch it together started to feel like watching a roof leak in slow motion. Nobody wanted to call the damage, but the water was pooling fast. Even Mila sensed the shift. Yara tried to fill their home with distractions, new clothes, new brands, a dog for good measure. Jovi brushed off every concern, promised things would settle when the business takes off, and deflected with jokes about Yara's shopping or overthinking. Fans started reading between the lines, comparing old episodes to see when Jovi's eyes started darting, or when Yara went from sharp to strained. It didn't take much to fuel new rumors. Maybe he really was just busy, maybe they were both exhausted, maybe baby number 2 would fix things. But the numbers never added up, and neither did their stories. Tension simmered, always ready to spill. Jovi ramped up the secrecy with little moves, turning his phone face down, lingering in the garage, booking trips with excuses stacked on top of each other. He started calling everything high-level business. Yara, already protective about their money, followed the paper trail and didn't like what she found. She pushed, he retreated, and every evade made her dig deeper. You bet half the planet thought she should have known sooner. The other half said she deserved answers. Nobody expected what those answers would be. So if it really was only about a business venture, why did every clue, every late night, every vague answer, every trip to Canada feel wired with panic? Why did Yara, queen of public clapbacks, suddenly go silent after years of sharing every messy detail? Why did every "I love you" sound like one more warning sign that the story was about to fall apart? If it was only business, then why did every move start to smell like betrayal? There is a reason so many people started holding their breath, waiting for a storm. And this one was gathering speed, whether the cameras were rolling or not. Jealousy in this marriage didn't look like storming out or screaming matches on camera. It showed up in quieter ways, like the way Yara stopped volunteering details about her day, or the way Jovi cut calls short when she passed by. At first it was easy to laugh off. He'd joke about Yara's obsession with home decor, she'd tease him about his networking at the bar, and fans shrugged it all off as TLC antics. But underneath the playful jabs, some wounds don't heal when you ignore them. You want to believe that, with enough time, those unspoken suspicions go away. Instead, they multiply. Ambition is a double-edged sword. Jovi wanted to level up, always had one more big idea. It's a classic story. Man chases dreams, new wife wants security, and every business pitch sounds like a promise to fix old problems. Yara, always sharply ambitious in her own right, wanted more for herself and their daughter, not less. So when Jovi pitched the investment, talking up projections, partnerships, and fast returns, it hit all the right buttons. Who wouldn't want to believe the man you married is finally about to pay off all your sacrifices? For a second, it made sense to let him take the lead. But real faith asks for proof, And when that proof never comes, the mind starts running wild. The little lies were easy to miss the first few times. A strange transaction here. Calls billed to new contacts there. Secret meetings for the company that increasingly looked like getaways for one. Yara, used to years of hustle and the blurry line between work and play, tried to brush it off. But every red flag she talked herself out of turned into two more. Locations on social posts never matched receipts. International business call became the standard excuse, which worked exactly until one night when the phone lit up and didn't stop. Who keeps their device superglued to their hand if all they're doing is closing deals? The more Jovi made her doubt herself, the less she trusted anything at all. For anyone who's ever sat awake wondering why the person in your bed feels like a stranger, this storyline was a gut punch. So many people have heard, "It's just stressful at work," or "You're imagining things," when their instincts are screaming. Social media is brutal to women who ask questions about money or step up to protect their own pockets. But it's wild how quickly the overreacting narrative flips once the receipts appear. You can only laugh at the high-level overseas project excuse so many times before it stops being funny. At some point, it's not rocket science. It's a man hiding the ball and a woman picking it back up, piece by piece. As for the absurdity of the cover stories, nobody sells a fake business trip like a reality TV husband cornered by too many questions. Jovi's version played like a bad sitcom, missing credit card charges, blurry selfies in club bathrooms, and motivational texts to himself about building the future. The stuff he thought would make him look driven only made him look checked out. Yara tried to play the supportive wife, but support has limits, especially when the same doubts hit every morning and the bank account empties out every night. The turning point didn't come with a big fight. It happened the night Yara caught one last message, heart emojis and all, sent at a time nobody's planning deals. The name was Canadian, the tone was intimate, and the story snapped. No brand would bleed its finances for business consulting, with a side of wedding planning in another country. Yara sniffed out the wire transfers, the hotel bills, even the petty cash used to fuel another woman's lifestyle. The clues were all there, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone determined enough to stop being gaslit. You want to root for your favorite couples, but there comes a point where hope just makes you look foolish. This wasn't two sides blindly colliding, it was one partner writing a new life overseas, and the other holding all the receipts stateside. Yara put everything together. The money trail, the late nights, the secret documents about Canadian property and rush visa applications. None of it fit the old story. And the worst part? She realized the business pitch was only ever a cover for moving on, for moving out, for building something that never included her. Yara confronted Jovi, not with shouting, but with cold, surgical precision. She laid every printed receipt on the table, every message, every digital footprint. The moment hit hard. Jovi finally trapped by evidence and not excuses. But if you think this is where the story peaks, think again. The most explosive public fallout was still about to shake the fanbase, and nobody, not even Yara, was ready for the full impact. Within 24 hours, the story wasn't a family scandal, it was a viral bonfire. Screenshots hit Twitter and Instagram before Yara even finished picking up the pieces of her marriage. Fans hemmed in on every detail. Some stitched together timelines, starting with Jovi's random phone habits and ending with the wire transfers. Others fired off memes that, in any other context, would have been hilarious. Except this time, people's nest eggs and reputations were collateral damage. There's a sharp line where sympathy turns ugly, and suddenly every old clip is fair game for roasting. 1 minute fans were replaying Yara's best clapbacks. The next, they jeered at her for believing a man with a strip club punch card would ever deliver a business plan. But Yara wasn't alone. Hundreds rushed to her defense, flooding comments with solidarity and "you deserved better" messages. For every snarky meme, there were 3 fans saying they'd seen the signs since season 8, as if hindsight was ever that generous. The empathy was real, at least at first. The more evidence dropped, the angrier people grew. And not just at Jovi. Some pointed fingers at TLC for allegedly building careers out of trauma and broadcasting couples who never had a shot. Others fixated on the influencer lifestyle, arguing that all those happy posts were warnings hiding in plain sight. Sympathy ping-ponged back and forth. Within a day, the mood turned. One half of the fanbase wanted legal justice, and the other half demanded updates and tea. What began as support for Yara started shifting, as some viewers accused her of playing dumb for the spotlight, while others said she'd been quietly protecting her family until the truth came out. Public fights have a different gravity. It's one thing to break up behind closed doors, and another to see digital receipts stapled to every tweet. The community that once loved to ship, Jovi and Yara turned attorney and judge, dissecting vacation posts from 2 years ago like forensic scientists. Even the cast's co-stars weighed in, sometimes with shade, sometimes with support, and often with the same curiosity as regular viewers. As soon as the financial fraud and Canadian side romance came out, timelines filled with "I told you so" threads and wild speculation. Some ex-castmates questioned if Jovi's behavior was always obvious. Others dropped vague cryptic comments about production protecting certain stars. All of this played out while Yara stayed eerily calm, rationing her own words as if waiting for the right moment to go nuclear. The hate wasn't all aimed at Jovi, though he took the brunt. Online detectives started turning on the show itself, suggesting producers had to know trouble was coming. Message boards filled up with episodes pulled apart frame by frame. Was the surprise business trip staged? Did the show gloss over warning signs to protect ratings? Did anyone in the crew notice Jovi dodging conversations or Yara's anxious looks? Rabbit holes multiplied overnight, especially anywhere former TLC stars had dropped hints about secrets that would never air. The guessing game wasn't just about Jovi and Yara anymore. It was about the whole franchise and whether reality TV is really real when the stakes are this personal and this expensive. At a certain point, it almost didn't matter if the producers knew or not. Fans felt cheated, and nobody likes feeling played. Other cast members chimed in, from cryptic Instagram story posts to honest podcasts. Some expressed nothing but heartbreak for Yara's situation, sharing stories of their own breakups and betrayals in front of the same cameras. But every supportive message came with a question. Had they missed the signs, or did the job force them to keep quiet? It raised old debates about what gets protected on reality TV and what's thrown out for drama. Everyone wanted to know, when is it entertainment and when is it exploitation? Did friends try to warn Yara, or was the pressure to deliver good TV just too strong? Watching all this explode online raised questions that reached beyond this couple, into the darker corners of how fame rewires your private life and expectations. Mixed in among the sympathy and memes, sharp attacks started flying in both directions. Fans who loved Yara months ago now analyzed her every move for stunts or attention grabs. Some called her strategic for waiting until the legal case was airtight before speaking out. Others said she should have left sooner, mocking her loyalty as gullibility. The same fans who roasted Jovi for being shady now dissected his every apology, waiting for a crack in his story. Each new detail became the centerpiece of 100 threads, all fighting for the last word. The patience of the internet is paper thin. One day you're declared a martyr. The next, your pain is old news dressed up as content. The story only got messier when the legal drama finally went public. Out came the legal filings, court dates, and line-by-line financial breakdowns. The real receipts, stamped and signed, carried a different kind of weight. Lawyers presented everything. Wire transfers to Canada, hotel bills, romantic flight plans, and those late-night texts that were supposed to stay private. Fans live-tweeted updates from court. The tension twisted tighter. How much did Yara really lose, and what price would Jovi pay for crossing every line at once? Smart questions cut through the noise. Could either one ever walk down the street without being stopped for photos or scolded for their blind sides? Would TLC edit the story to protect the network or let the dirty laundry blow for ratings? The spectacle outgrew the original problem. What would justice look like when everyone's watching? The scorn that crashed onto Jovi's head was harsh, but no amount of memes could erase that this wasn't reality TV anymore. It was real life, with real money and legal stakes. In the middle of all this, people started asking the questions that last longer than a meme. How safe is any couple, any business, when Instagram and reality TV become the new family album? And then, when everyone figured the worst was already public, the judge read the final verdict. The number was brutal, the penalty was real, and the fallout wasn't something you could filter out or walk away from with a cute Instagram caption. Jovi's legacy as a fan-favorite storybook husband was shattered. His future, at least for now, belonged to the court system. Legal defeats, public humiliation, a demolished marriage, all broadcast to anyone with a Wi-Fi connection. Yara faced the cameras, the comments, and the next chapter with her name suddenly separated from his at last. But how does anyone rebuild when every mistake is now an internet reference? The real aftermath was only beginning, and millions could only watch, speculate, and wait for the next twist. When the judge's ruling hit, shockwaves slid through every corner of Yara's life. There is no way to fully prepare for the moment a marriage becomes official courtroom drama, your name scrawled across hundreds of headlines, your heartbreak translated into hashtags and comment threads. Months before, all this felt impossible. Now, with the final verdict echoing online and off, Yara faced the real start of the aftermath. The strange thing was how quickly relief and sorrow flickered back and forth. Real closure never feels the way you imagine, especially when the whole world keeps reminding you that your pain is public property. Divorce is always a messy word, but for Yara, it became a border between who she allowed herself to be and what she was leaving behind. She moved fast. The paperwork was straight, the legal lines crisply drawn, no loopholes or drawn-out reconciliations. For the first time on Instagram, her captions took on a different tone, less playful, more intent, as if everything was being curated with her future, not her old image in mind. She thanked people for the support, shifted focus to her daughter, even took a break from the endless churn of product endorsements and travel photos. There's a kind of power in stripping it all down, in clearing out the story you sold to the world and starting fresh without apology. Reputation takes longer to fix than finances, though, and Yara knew it. For years, she lived split between love and hustle, trying to turn every fight and plot twist into an opportunity. The temptation, now, would have been to retreat, hide, or protest that it was all too much. Instead, she seemed to gather every ounce of visibility and use it to her advantage. Some fans saw her actions as strategic, drop the bomb, claim the win, bounce to a new gig. Others read pure survival into the way she worked through the mess, figuring out how to be a single mom, a brand, a businesswoman, all at once, with international scrutiny on her every move. If anyone doubted whether she'd manage, her next step snuffed out those questions fast. She launched business pivots almost immediately, testing new partnerships, hinting at a few online projects, and quietly renegotiating which stories she would let shape her. She had always been good at using social media to her advantage, but now there was a gravity to each post. When she did speak about the past, it wasn't to roast Jovi or join the gossip, but to set boundaries about her own healing. The substance was different now, less hawking products, more talking about starting over, about what it means to trust again when you've been burned by love and loyalty in the most public way imaginable. Standing up for herself became the new theme. For every unwelcome DM and naysayer, there were dozens more rooting for her next chapter. It mattered. You could see the fatigue behind her eyes sometimes, but you could also see the fire. Yara didn't just survive the drama, she transformed what survival means in the age of digital exposure, turning shame and shock into a strange kind of strength. Her story morphed from reality TV cautionary tale into real empowerment, not because she wanted it, but because once you've lost everything on camera, what else is left to fear? This whole saga forced bigger questions about what lessons anyone could take from a disaster like theirs. So many viewers watched every episode hoping their favorite couple would beat the odds, only to walk away with bruises of their own when the dream fell apart. If there's practical advice hiding inside all this drama, maybe it comes down to one thing: trust your instincts sooner, even if it feels easier to play along for appearances. Yara's journey from hopeful new wife to betrayed partner under studio lights was every bit as raw as it looked. It's tempting to think it only happens on screen, but betrayal, financial, emotional, or both, creeps in everywhere when we start second-guessing the evidence right in front of us. If your partner starts getting cagey about money, or you feel the ground shifting under your home life, don't wait for public receipts to believe yourself. Maybe you don't have to blast everything online, but hold tighter to your questions, not just the answers you hope for. And when the world tells you to move on fast, remember that real healing moves at its own pace, not the pace of next week's content cycle. Internet drama burns hot but leaves behind a harder chill. Yara absorbed every hit, but she also refused to let pain write her whole narrative. Real-life consequences don't come with viral edits or perfect closure. For Jovi, the fallout meant facing months in the legal system and the even longer shadow of public shame. It meant giving up the safety net of reality fame, seeing privacy ripped away bit by bit as every misstep sparked new analysis. His story switched instantly from lovable rogue to lesson on the costs of arrogance. The court's judgment wasn't just about dollars. It was a public accounting for every lie that turned their life into a storyline none of their fans signed up for. For both, the path to moving forward is slow and sharp, not the clean break so many scripted resolutions pretend to offer. Yara threw herself into work, family, and personal growth. Some days, it probably feels like freedom. Others, it probably stings as much as day one. Her circle shrank and hardened, a tighter trust, a firmer shell. She posted less, smiled less in photos, but the honesty was refreshing. If there is power in struggling so openly, it's in refusing to gloss over hard days for easy applause. Fans who once wanted the old Yara back started rooting for the version that doesn't care about being perfect anymore. Jovi's direction looked less certain. Hints of regret crept into rare updates, even if he tried to keep it light. No amount of glibness or defensive QAs could erase the fact that, in the eyes of fans and family, he gambled away something priceless for an affair that never paid off. Once you are internet famous for the wrong reason, every step toward redemption is twice as heavy. Whatever career plans he had are all filtered through a new lens, one of mistrust, loss, and 1,000 inside jokes he'll never quite shrug off. Maybe with time, he could rebuild, but the timeline is nobody's business but his. Emotional reckoning comes when the cameras have packed up and the lights are cold. That's when reality bites hardest. Real healing isn't found in moving on to another city, grabbing a new sponsor, or posting a filtered apology. Sometimes, it's making peace with the smallest parts of the story, the mornings when you get out of bed for your kid, the messages you don't send to defend yourself, the friends who stick around when you have nothing left to offer. Yara faced that with her head high, even if the victory some days only showed up in not falling apart again. The best revenge, maybe, is simply refusing to be defined by the debris. Fans will always want neat endings, someone winning, someone losing, someone getting what's coming. But this isn't a made-for-TV finale. It's two people staring down their own choices and learning to trust themselves and their reality, away from the glare. The takeaways aren't all uplifting. Some days, taking back your power means walking away broke, with a reputation in tatters. Other days, it means choosing privacy over applause and sitting in sadness until it fades on its own. Over time, the story will fade online. Comments will slow, memes will dry up, new controversies will take over. Yet for Yara, and even for Jovi, this saga will always be more than a footnote. Each will carry the lessons out of view, into regular life, haunted or strengthened by what happened when the world was watching. But what if the real stories keep going, even after the last Instagram story and the cameras wrap? What if each messy end is just the prologue to another act the audience may never see? When reality TV draws the curtain, the echoes linger long after. Now, the one thing everyone's waiting to see is who will write the next chapter, and whether moving on is ever as simple as getting the last word. For anyone watching, nothing ever quite ends while there's still someone left to ask, what happened next? And that, more than any verdict or headline, is the kind of suspense nobody can script away. Wondering what happened to other reality TV couples when the light went out? There's another story, one bigger, bolder, and even more controversial, waiting right after this drama cools.